Zimbabwe Minister of Justice Ziyambi addressed and said that the amendments which are coming do not need a referendum. This is despite a fact that there is a Concord application which is trying to stop whatever which is happening, which means the Justice Minister would have known that he was not supposed to comment as of now, because his comments may be seen as a way of trying to coerce and direct the courts in terms of what must happen. So this is very important. Let us take a look on what he said.
Notably, amendments to term limit provisions do not intrinsically require referendums, as Section 91 subsection 2 endures unaltered, while Section 95 subsection 2b and 143 subsection 1 are exempt as election cycles. So these ones are election cycles, the ones that we are amending. We are not touching term limit provisions. We are dealing with electoral cycle provisions, not one that are specific to an individual.
So this is what he says. This is the explanation he's giving. But I believe that he is misdirecting, he is lying, and is not telling the truth. And probably this is a way of trying to tell the Concord where they should go. For those who listened to Jonathan Moyo's arguments on X, it's so clear. They made it clear that they disregard anything to do with the Constitution. Whatever which argument Jonathan Moyo presented was political. So a political argument needs a political response. What it means is these people, they are no longer dealing with this whole issue legally, but they are dealing with it politically, but in the name of legal action. So we need to go and understand what is really happening right here, so that we understand what Ziyambi is saying. And after understanding what Ziyambi is saying, we also get an expression of what is really happening. So a term limit is very simple. If you go anywhere and you try to ask yourself, what is a term limit? We are talking about a legal restriction that sets the maximum number of terms or years a person can serve in a specific elected office. Once the limit is reached, the individual cannot continue in that position unless the constitution or a law is changed. So if Mnangagwa does not change the law, he cannot benefit. But there are things surrounding the change of law. Section 328 speaks about the amendment of the constitution, and what can be changed without the input of the people is very important to know that it's from section 328(7) and 9. So when you're looking at this explanation, which is right there on the screen, you can see that the step they have taken so far to change the constitution, it's allowed with the constitution. But for Ziyambi then to come and tell us that there is no need for a referendum, that is where we are in disagreement with them. Our argument is not whether a constitution cannot be changed or it can be changed. Our argument is simple. You cannot change the constitution, number one, to benefit an individual, number two, without the input of the people as required by the same constitution. So let us go to these critical sections so that we get clarity. You go to section 95. This is a section which is bringing a definition in terms of what is regarded as a presidential term in Zimbabwe. So a presidential term in Zimbabwe is 5 years. So you can see that under section 328, it protects the term limits and presidential tenure from unilateral change. You cannot simply wake up tomorrow and say we are changing anything. So if the amendments extends tenure or benefits sitting president, it must be approved by a referendum. This is very, very clear. This is where the argument is. Does Mnangagwa benefit from the extension? And, you know, that is something which is very important. If Mnangagwa is going to get a lengthy tenure, he cannot benefit that without a referendum. So When you're looking at this, I think we need to be honest. We need to be brutal about this. So we can look at it in different ways and different formats. When you're talking about a presidential term limit, a president is limited to a maximum of 2 terms. A maximum of 2 terms, and according to Section 95, a term is 5 years. So when you are changing from 5 years to 7 years, you are not changing only the election cycle as argued by Ziyambi. You are changing the tenure. So that is the reason why each and every term or each and every chapter or thing in the constitution is different. We have a lot of chapters in the constitution. We have a lot of sections in the constitution which are different. Each and every section in the constitution yakazvimiririra, and pane pamwe pekuti another section is coming to defend another section or to clarify things on another section. So Section 95 cannot be confused as an election cycle. It can't be confused like that. So I think Ziyambi is misleading. And when you're looking at this, you can see that the term length, each term is 5 years, and it runs concurrently with Parliament. And amendments to the referendum or extending term limits or benefiting a sitting president requires a national referendum. You cannot run away from these facts which are right there on the screen. No matter how they try to deal with this issue, they can't run away from the facts. But the reason why they are coming out right now, I've explained and I said, these people, they are trying to preempt what is before the Constitutional Court. What it means is the verdict which the Constitutional Court is going to give has already been given. Nana Ziyambi. So you can see that even if they try by all means possible to use this as an election cycle, it is running from 2023 to 2028. That is already something which is already there. So these amendments which we are talking about, even if they are saying we are not going to go for a referendum, they cannot be applied before the end of 2028. We must end this election cycle which we already started. You cannot tell us that since Mnangagwa has not served 3 years or has not served a term, so if we bring these amendments, he can go to 2030. The argument does not hold water. Because even if they are to win today and say, okay, maybe there is a loophole in the constitution, Mnangagwa cannot benefit from this because there are people who have been elected. This thing is already in cycle, is already in motion. So without the input of the people, you cannot change what you agreed with the people. You can't change the terms of a contract without the input of the people. The people who voted for you in 2023 must come and be in agreement with you so that you go to 2030. That is the simple argument which is there. So you can see that no matter the circumstances, no matter what, Mnangagwa is determined to go to 2030. But we are saying, no, you cannot go to 2030 without a referendum, without asking the people. So you can see that Section 328, this is the referendum rule. It protects term limits from unilateral change. That is point number 1. But an amendment, it must be approved by a referendum if it extends presidential tenure. Presidential tenure ya Mnangagwa, one way or the other, yatiri kutaura nezvayo according to the constitution which is current, iri kupera muna 2028. So if Mnangagwa wants to benefit kusvika kuna 2030, he cannot avoid a referendum. Even if they say that the provisions they are amending does not need a referendum, if they are going to apply them before 2028, there is still need for a referendum. Because Mnangagwa cannot go to 2030 with the same mandate. So I do not know where these people are failing to understand this. They're deliberately misleading people. Okay, we have brought something which talks about the argument they are talking about, and I'm going to put it in a visual format so that you get to understand what they are saying, and then you get the appreciation of what you are talking about. So they are saying the question is, does the amendment which is coming require a referendum? Even they are saying that it doesn't need a referendum. Why? They are saying that they are amending an election cycle. So if an election cycle is amended, Mnangagwa cannot benefit because this election cycle will not affect what is there today. It will affect what will come tomorrow. I want to go back to with you to how laws are being applied. If a law is proposed today, it happened today, is not affected by the law which is passed tomorrow. The law which is passed tomorrow starts to act or starts to affect what is beyond that law. What is beyond the constitutional amendments is 2028. So they cannot benefit from something which is current. What is current is 2023 to 2028. This is what is current. So from 2028, after this government is lapsed, we then go into the new amendments. So even if they say we have the majority, they've successfully changed the law, Mnangagwa cannot benefit from these amendments unless they go for a referendum. And that referendum must ask two things. Number one, it must ask if the president is allowed to extend his tenure. And that referendum also must be constituency based, where each and every person will go to his polling station and ask, can this MP Watinaye go to 2030? People will vote yes or no. Can Mnangagwa go to 2030? People will vote no. Can this MP in his specific name go to 2030? People will vote no. What it means is automatically that MP is bad to go to 2030. Automatically Emerson Mnangagwa is bad to go to 2030. So that is the only way out if they want these things to happen according to the law. If anything outside that is a disaster and chaos. That is the reason why Maduku said that we are going to deploy both legal and political, because Jonathan Moyo is coming with political opinion, not with legal opinion. So if Jonathan Moyo and Ziyambi are using a political opinion, what happens is the response cannot be legal. It will be political, because a political response can only be met with a political response. You cannot mix the two. A legal response can only be answered through a legal thing. So I think I have tried to explain this very, very clearly. And what this minister is saying right here is a clear violation of the constitution. And this is going to give us a lot of problems. And, you know, this is going to render this constitution useless. If they manage to do this, this is going to be a constitutional coup. So whatever way they try to explain this, Emerson Mnangagwa cannot benefit without a referendum. The current MPs and councillors cannot benefit without a referendum. So you will need to see this referendum in threefold: asking for the councillor, asking for the MP, asking for the president, or even fourfold, asking for the senators who are there currently. So you can see that it won't pass the test of time. This is going to be challenged, and it's something else. And also another thing is, we need to examine and understand what does Mnangagwa intend to achieve by adding 10 more senators he is going to appoint on his own. Because if you appoint 10 more senators, you have removed a balance within the Senate. What it means is, even if the opposition win majority of senators, the president will simply come and appoint senators he wants, and you obtain majority. What are the voting rights of these senators is adding to? So that is another legal question which will need to be asked. What will be the voting rights of the senators? Are they going to be included and involved in the voting processes, or they will only be used for the purposes of picking up my ministers. But you recently increased the number of non-parliamentary ministers from 5 to 7. So what more do you want? So you can see that this whole thing is hell-bent on making sure that they prevent the opposition from stopping anything or holding the government accountable at whatever point. So this is something which is very important in Zimbabwe, something which we cannot ignore. I think we've tried to explain this, and we have played the video of Ziyambi. For those who came late, let us bring it and so that you hear for yourself.
Notably, amendments to term limit provisions do not intrinsically require referendums, as Section 91 subsection 2 endures unaltered, while Section 95 subsection 2b and 143 subsection 1 are exempt as election cycles. So these ones are election cycles, the ones that we are amending. We are not touching term limit provisions. We are dealing with electoral cycle provisions, not one that are specific to an individual.
So this is what he said, and from this one, we need to have a conversation and talk. What are your thoughts? What do you really think? Does what Ziyambi say make any sense? So in my own view, it doesn't make sense. Okay, my brother Temba says, and who has given them the go-ahead to mutilate the constitution? That is a very important question. These people, they've given themselves power. They've done everything possible. They've bought the military, they've bought the judiciary and everyone else. But what is left is a political response. Definitely politics will kick in. Politics will respond. And we hope and pray that it will not create chaos they won't be able to control. Let us meet in other episodes in other broadcasts.